Another one is
Okay.
another one.
One more.
Again.
Wait, all right. So let's start.
Okay.
Oh, how do I get rid of this? Okay, so our topic for today is observation and document analysis. How it is. Okay, so these are the presenters. Myself, Mohammed, Mohammed Yaqub. That sounds so Arabic. Joseph, but he's not here, so we'll just read his slide off.
Yes. Okay.
And then also Yang Tian Tian, Mohammed Effendi, and Ehikyoya Hillary. All right, so I'm going to be talking about observation. There's two topics in this whole presentation, observation and document analysis. So my current one is observation. So what is observation? Observation as a research method. It is one of the key tools for collecting data in qualitative research. So observation is technically a behavior that's done by all of you guys. For example, watching this presentation is an observation as well. It is one that uses the five senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. If you have another extra senses, we won't include that because that's not considered as this, but we'll just focus on the five senses. So because you're using all these five senses, you kind of have to focus on the physical settings, the participants, the activities, interactions, conversation, and even your own behaviors. Technically, you're doing the impossible. So it's like if you're asking Mohammed to go up to the shopping mall and say, okay, I need you to observe this. He's gonna be like, what am I observing? I don't know what I'm observing. It's just too much to observe. So that's why you need to make research question and actually focus on what you're observing. So that's technically basically the gist of observation, really. So there are four types of observation. The first one is complete observer. This is where the researcher is not seen nor noticed. It's kind of using the video cameras or remote observation. Of course, now in this world where everything is illegal and everyone can sue everyone, it's kind of losing ground over this because of privacy issues. So usually this video cameras and remote observation is used in coffee shops or restaurants to see the behaviors of another, where you kind of expect videos to be there. So the second types of observation is the observer as participant. So this one is the researcher is known by the participant. So in this type, the end goal of the researcher is to it's known to everyone. For like example, the observer can play an active role in the discussion. So like you're kind of wondering, like, do you think your country will make it to the next World Cup? So you're kind of having like a group discussion sort of. Okay, so the third one is participant as observer. This is where the observer is completely indulged with participant and participates in the discussion. Even though the participants discuss an entirety of the observer, they do know that the observer is also a researcher. So the observer in this case, though, could be like a family member, a close friend, or which doesn't deter the participant from discussion, or maybe even like colleagues. So an example like this could be where, if anyone has ever seen the show Grey's Anatomy, where you have the doctors do the surgery at the bottom and then the other doctors are observing from top. So that's participant as an observer. So you kind of like, so it's common in healthcare setting where members of the healthcare team are interested in observing operations in order to understand and improve care process. So the last type of observation is complete participant. This is where you kind of use it for secretive topics or research that you don't want to kind of like ruffle feathers with. You don't want to be too be too sensitive with them about. So in this case, research is completely in sync with the participants. The discussion are free flowing and holds no bar, and researcher indulge in the discussion animatedly. So it's more like a spy. So like a secret shopper. If you don't know what secret shopper is, you pretend to be shopping at a Louis Vuitton, but you're just wearing slippers. And then you try to act, you're trying to observe how the staff behave towards you. Do they approach you? Do they give you a disgusted look, or they just give you a broom and say, okay, go sweep the floor? But so it's sort of like you're spying on them. Okay, so these are the four types of observations. So the next one will be by Matt. Sorry, I've been calling him Mohammed. I don't know why. He's going to be talking about key consideration when using observation as research methods. Matt.
Okay, hi. Okay, this is my part number 3. I just want to share with you guys about the key consideration when use observation and a research method.
Oh, next slide.
Okay. The second slide is I want to discuss about different between observation and interview. We have for the observation is the first one, observation take place in the natural setting, and then the second one, observation first hand. The third, observation in a real time. For the interview can be work with observation.
Okay.
Okay, the third slide, preparing your observation. Then we have see the first one, training and mental preparation, recording of file notes, learning how to write the observation. Something like you need to study how you need to write the observation. Like you record from the call, maybe you record from the phone and then you transfer to work like that. Okay, next. Okay, method to validate observation. Knowledge how to separate detail. So you know how to separate the detail, like maybe like you ask about the gender, maybe you ask like the age, you need to separate. Okay, because you need to do something like table of content like that. Okay, the last one is establishing a relationship with the community under study. Next. And then the observation process. Next. Okay, of course, the first one you need to enter. Of course, what you need to do, you just go somewhere and then you need to go for the interview, observation, guiding, conference, and getting permission. Okay, the second one, of course, you need to collect data. How you collect data? Of course, you need to interview and then you need to record. And then after that, you need to transfer to words like that. And then the last one is exit. So you know how to need to exit our or writing the garden line. That's all. Next. Okay, this one I pass to my friend number 4. Thank you very much.
It's not here, Matt.
Huh?
Who's going to read it for us?
Oh, I'll just read. So the fourth one, that's I'll read on behalf of Joseph Samoso.
Oh,
that advantages of advantages of observation. The first one being collecting data at the site of entry. Data collection is independent of the participant's willingness. Then you also have it decreases biasness. Then you have disadvantages of observation as increased Hall tone effects and a restriction of observer to observe certain behavior. Yes, then ethical considerations when conducting observation. The first one being consideration for study participants. Second, participants' rights, interests, and sensitivities must be safeguarded. Then the third one, you have participants should not be harmed or exploited. Then the fourth one, participants' rights to research intentions or purpose. The fifth, protection of participants' privacy, that is not having to expose the identity of the participants. Reports or feedback. The sixth one, reports or feedback to both the research participants and public. Okay, I'll pass on to Tian, please.
Yeah. Okay, so it's my turn, my friends. What is document analysis? Document analysis is a form of qualitative research in which documents are interpreted by the research to give voice and meaning around an assessment topic. Analyzing documents incorporates coding content into themes similar to how focus group or interview transcripts are analyzed. Like, so what is the focus group interview method? I think it is also known as group discussion method, is to choose a group of homogeneous consumers or customers in the, and here is our students to form of a small discussion, and a trained moderator will talk with group of representative consumers in an unstructured and natural form in order to gain in-depth understanding of the relevant issues. And the rubric can also be used to grade or a score document. And how about the types of document analysis? The first one is public records. It contains the official ongoing records of an organization's activities. Examples include student transcripts, mission statement, annual reports, policy manuals, student handbooks, and strategic plans and syllabi. The next type is personal documents. It including first-person accounts for an individual's actions, experiences, and beliefs. Examples include calendars, emails, scrapbooks, blogs, Facebook posts, duty logs, instance reports, reflection journals, and newspapers. And the last one is physical evidence. It contains physical objects found within the study setting, often called artifacts. Example include flyers, posters, agendas, handbooks, and training materials. Yeah, and next is our another frame.
Oh.
Thank you, Tian Tian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we move to the process for document analysis. Is it?
It's also me.
Is it still your turn?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, oh, it's also my part, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the purpose of triangulation? Is to provide a confluence of evidence that breeds credibility. Corroborating findings across data sets and reduce the impact of potential bias by examining information collected through different methods. Also combining qualitative and quantitative, sometimes included in document analysis, and it is called the mixed methods studies.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, my friends.
Okay, now it's my turn. All right, thank you, Tian Tian. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All right, we proceed for the process for document analysis. According to Corbin and Strauss 2008, document analysis involves skimming, reading, and interpretations. This iterative process combines elements of content analysis and thematic analysis. All right, what is the content analysis? I believe that everybody's know due to that during our presentations of our mini project, some say that content analysis and some say it's about the thematic analysis. So here we are. What is it? Content analysis is the process of organizing information into category that related to the research questions. There are also systematic coding and categorizations, and is used to explore several types of information that are useful to determine patterns of word use, frequencies, and relationship structures and form of communication. Content analysis also is used to describe the content characteristic of a document by examining who say, to whom, and what the effect of the document, text, or visual is. When using content analysis, the main goal is to describe the phenomenon in conceptual form. Next, we go to the thematic analysis. And this one, the wording also that we use in our mini project presentation. I believe everybody know more about it. As a summarizing, thematic analysis is a form of pattern recognition within the data, with emerging themes becoming the category for analysis. The process involves a careful, more focused rereading and review of data, and the researcher need to take a closer look at the selected data and perform coding and category construction based on the data characteristic to uncover themes pertinent to a phenomenon. And this thematic analysis is a good approach to research, because with this analysis, we can find out something about people's view, opinions, knowledge, experience, or value from a set of qualitative data. Code and the themes we generate serve to integrate data gathered by different methods. The researcher is expected to demonstrate objectivity and sensitivity in the selection and analysis of data from the document, which is that from our data set. Next, before I proceed, I would like to make a slight correction due to misposition of step 4 and step 3. Supposedly, generating themes is step 3 and reviewing theme is step 4. That is my mistake. All right. Okay. Just change it visually. All right. The approach to thematic analysis involves a 6-step process for doing qualitative analysis. All right, and this process was originally developed by Brown and Clark, 2006. Although these steps are sequential and each build on the previous, analysis is typically a recursive process with movement back and forth between different steps. These are not rules to follow rigidly, but rather a series of conceptual and practice-oriented tools that guide the analysis to facilitate a rigorous process of data interrogation and engagement, which is that is not make us to follow the full step. Sometimes we can jump there, jump here based on what we needed, all right? And we go to the step number 1, which is that familiarization with the data. This phase involves reading and rereading the data to make us to become familiar with its contents, right? We have a data, we should know and we should familiar with it. If not, we may lose, all right? This first phase is to get to know our data completely. It's important to get an overview of all the data we collected before we start analyzing individual items. It might involve, which is that transcribing audio, visual, read through the text, and taking initial notes, and generally looking through the data to get familiar with it. And the second step is coding. This phase involves generating labels that identify important features of the data that might be relevant to answering the research question. And it involves coding the entire data set, and after that, collecting all the code and all relevant data extract together for later stages of analysis, which is that for the step 3, step 4, and step 5, all right? And we need to code the data. Coding also means highlighting section of our text, usually phrases or sentences, and coming up with the shorthand labels or codes to describe the content. Codes can be developed based on descriptive note and not only based on interview but also observation. After this, on the next slide, I will share a short example text. All right, next we go to the generating initial themes. This phase involves as a meaning the codes and collected data to identify significant broader pattern of meaning, which is that the potential themes. It then involves collecting data relevant to each theme so that we can work with the data and review the viability of each theme. We will share after this. I will also share the example after this. And the fourth one is reviewing themes. This phase involves checking the themes against and again of the data set, right? We have to make sure that our themes are useful and accurate representation of the data. Here we return to the data set and compare out our team and compare our teams against it. From that, we can check we missing anything, or this team really present in the data, or what can we change to make our teams work better. If we encounter any problem with our teams, we might split them up, combine them, discard them, or create new ones to make them more useful and accurate. The last one, defining and naming teams. This phase involves developing a detailed analysis of each team, working out the scope and focus of each team, determining the story of each. It also involves deciding on an informative name for each team. At this stage, we have a final list of teams. It's time to name and define each of them. Defining teams involve formulating exactly what we mean by each team and figuring out how it helps us understand the data. Naming teams involve coming up with succinct and easily understandable name for each team. The last step is writing up, which is that we make a report of finding. This final phase involves weaving together the analytical narrative and data extract and contextualization, the analysis in relation to existing literature. Finally, we will write up our analysis of the data. Next. Okay, this is the example for the step 2, which is coding. This coding example are about researching perception of climate change among conservative voters aged 50 and above. This is not our study. We just pick up as an example for the purpose of the today presentation and the data collected through interviews. An extract from the interview looks like as the said figure as an example. As on the screen, in this extract, we have highlighted various phrases in different colors, which is that in purple and the blue one, which is that corresponding to different codes. And each code describe the idea or feeling expressed in the part of the text, such as the purple one, I'm not sure, and then I don't know why or how, then we code it as uncertainty, and then so on, as well as the others, which is that the climate changing, which is that we code it under acknowledgement of climate change. At this stage, we need to go through the transcript of every interview and highlight everything that jumps up as relevant or potentially interesting, as well as highlighting all the phrases and sentences that match the codes. We can keep adding new code as we go through the text. After we have been through the text, we collect together all the data into group identified by code. This could allow us to gain a condensed overview of the main point and common meaning throughout the data. Next. Okay, this is the example for the step number 3, which is that generating initial themes, as Elliot said. Now we look over the code that we have created, identify pattern among them, and start coming up with the themes, which is that before this, the example is uncertainty, is it? Okay, and then we come up with the theme, which is that themes are generally broader than code. Most of the time, we should combine several code into a single theme. In this example, we might start combining codes into theme like as the set figure as an example. As we can see here, uncertainty, this is the example that we pick up from the previous one, all right? Which is that uncertainty, leave it to the expert, alternative explanation, which is that we put under the theme uncertainty, all right? At this stage, we might decide that some of our codes are too vague or not relevant enough. For example, because they do not appear very often in the data, so they can be discarded. Other codes might become themes in our own right. In this example, we decide that the code uncertainty makes sense as a theme with some other codes incorporated into it. And what else? Okay, again, what we decide will vary according to what we are trying to find out. We want to create potential themes that tell us something helpful about the data for our purposes. Next. Next, we go to how to conduct content analysis. Just now, we have finished the process about the thematic analysis. All right, now we go to the content analysis, which is that content analysis is the one of the qualitative method used to identify pattern in recorded communication. To conduct content analysis, needed us systematically to collect data from a set of texts, which can be written, oral, or visual, which are the example is from the, let's say, books, newspapers, magazine, report, is it? Teachers report, is it? As well as that we have been told in the class, okay, speeches and interviews, web content, social media posts, what else? Photography and films, and so on. According to ILO and Kiengas 2008, there are 5 steps of content analysis, which are: first, we should select the content that we will analyze. This one is a more different with the thematic analysis, all right? Because this one is based on the document or text, all right? For the first step, which is that select the content that we will analyze based on the research question that we have created. We need to choose the text that we will analyze. We need to decide the medium, as well as I'm said that just now, is it from a newspaper, speeches, or website, or a film, or photography, all right? And then the criteria for inclusions, maybe a newspaper article that mention particular event, speeches by a certain politicians, is it? Or website regarding the product and services, right? The parameter in terms of data range, the location, and etc. For this content, the example is regarding the research about. I choose the example regarding the research about media representation of male and female politicians. So, what are the article that we use? Okay, we need to decide to analyze new articles and opinion pieces in print newspaper, and then we need to choose for what years the duration, maybe 2017 to 2021, all right? And we need to choose not only from one sources, maybe from 3 major national newspapers and sample only, which is that from Monday to Saturday, Monday to Friday editions, all right? And the second one is define the units and category of analysis. Next, we need to determine the level at which we will analyze. This means we should defining the units of meaning that will be coded. For example, we are going to record the frequency of individuals' words and phrases, the characteristic of people who produce or appear in the text, the present and positioning of image, or the treatment of themes and concept. And then related with this second step is we need to set the categories, set off the categories that we will use for coding. Categories can be objective, category can be objective characteristic, such as female, age, 40 to 50 years, all right, single mother or lawyers, or more conceptual. And then the third one is develop a set of rules for coding. Coding involves organizing the unit of meaning into the previously defined categories, especially with more conceptual categories. It is important to clearly define the rules for what will and won't be included to ensure that all texts are coded consistently. The fourth one, code the text according to the rules. We need to go through each text and record all relevant data in the appropriate categories. This can be done manually or aided with a computer program or software such as Enable, Atlas.ti, Diction, and so on. That means that we need to choose the right software that suit with how to that suit with our feeling, all right. And then the last one, analyze the result and draw a conclusion. Based on our analyzing just now under step 4, once coding is complete, the collected data is as a mean to find patterns and draw conclusion in response to our research question. We might use statistical analysis to find the correlation or trends, discuss or interpretation of what the result means, and make inference about the creator's context and audience of the text. And with that, I finish the process for the content analysis, and I pass it to Mr. Hillary to continue for the advantage and disadvantage of the document analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. So I'll be talking about advantages and disadvantages of document analysis. Please, next slide, please. So document analysis as a survey method contributes several and different advantages. For example, you can see through the diagram or the visual showing, it leads to higher thinking, automatic processing, of which by your right, you can see the knowledge bank from where all these come out from: attention, working memory, logic and reasoning. Then you have decision, known, learned information, new, then visual processing, long-term memory. Then you can also consider non-disruption of functional flow. That's easy flow of information from the knowledge bank, because since it's document analysis, so because basically you are getting information or reading from different documents, so it leads to higher cognitive learning, because you are getting knowledge from various sources. That's why you can see from there where I put learned information and long-term memory. Then also a higher thinking. So next slide, please. Okay. So one of the advantages also is that as a survey method, document analysis contributes several and divergent at various advantages. Less strength needed to develop a document analysis. There's much easiness when developing document analysis compared to interviews, field observations, and the rest of them. From the diagram, we can see how easy the researcher sits down with his pet, because he or she or the researcher doesn't have to stress him or herself. From the comfort of your home or office or wherever you're operating from, you can simply take care of the documents and have all the information processed easily. Next slide, please. So another of the advantage of document analysis is that as a survey method, document analysis contributes several and different advantages, done at the convenience of the researcher and can be stopped or halted at any time. Process can be done whenever it is comfortable and not under duress or stress. You stop for a moment, close your eyes and breathe. That is just like the previous slide. It is done at easiness. You don't need to stress yourself that much, unlike interviews and the rest of them. The next slide. So this is another, like the diagram shows, this is another advantages of document analysis. Almost or near impossible to alter or distort source of data by the document analysis. This is basically because, just like we can see from the diagram, as the man is trying to bust the wall, but of which is not possible, that simply explains what I'm trying to say, in the sense that the documents are there, so it is almost or non-possible for anyone to distort that information, because such information is also at the hands of the public. So when you change information, or when you try to manipulate information regarding to that, definitely the reading public will know, and those who have information regarding to what the researcher is doing will definitely know that, oh, there's a distort of information and probably there's some hanky-panky game being played somewhere. Next, please. Okay. So now we move on to the disadvantages of document analysis. The first one being inadequate information. When information given to the public is incomplete, it leads the readers astray. We can see from the diagram a man standing at two junctions, confused of where to go, whether right or left. Okay, I can use an example with this. For example, somebody who wants to travel, or somebody who is trying to board a flight or take a taxi or bus to somewhere, maybe move, maybe from Kuala Lumpur to Johor Bahru or something like that, and he or she finds himself in, or decides to go seek information from the wrong source. Definitely, he will end up, instead of going from Kuala Lumpur to Johor Bahru, he may end up going from Kuala Lumpur to Terengganu. Why? Because of the wrong source of information from where he or she, or where the researcher got the information from, which definitely will lead to a wrong destination. And the second one being one-sided judgment. This can also be called the dangers of a single story or narrative. We can see from the diagram, the first one, a different view, but the second diagram, a clearer and complete view. So whoever has seen the first diagram will think, oh, this man is like insulting the public. But whoever sees the second diagram will have to understand that, oh, this is the more clearer view, and the first one is just being manipulated by people who probably want to give a wrong impression of the man. And an example of this is, for example, like, let me say, example like social media, where people go and spread or put information that are wrong, something like fake news, and those who do not have the cognitive abilities or capabilities to understand what is being said, or cannot go further to get more information, we think that, oh, such informations are right. Meanwhile, they don't know that, oh, that information is wrong and it's a manipulated information just for the interest of the person who is, or who puts the information there at the public domain. Then you have the third one, little or inability to regain documents, and one, tough and challenging process to have access to needed information for research, inability to have access to lost documents in situations whereby documents are lost or damaged. Then, okay, for the first one, I will explain the first one. Tough and challenging process to have access to needed information for research, because sometimes not all organizations may or will want to release their documents to you, probably because maybe that's their policy not to give out information and data to the reading public or even to researchers or whoever is coming to seek data from their human resource or any other department within an organization. Probably they are afraid that maybe the documents may be manipulated, or maybe, on the other hand, they don't want the reading public to know how they operate and the rest of them, because that is, or that may be classified as their own marketing strategy. So they don't want to give it out to the public, because it's somehow like the secret of the organization. Then the second one, you have inability to have access to lost documents in situations whereby documents are lost or damaged. For example, maybe a computer, maybe someone has lot of documents in his or her computer, and maybe the computer unexpectedly gets broken down, and the researcher lost such documents, and it's very difficult to have to regain that document. But in some cases, it can be regained. And also, maybe situations whereby such documents are kept in a warehouse or in an office building, and unexpectedly or unforeseen circumstances may occur, something like fire outbreak and the rest of them. And when such documents are lost, it is very difficult to having to regain such documents again. This next slide, please. Another slide.
That's all. It's finished.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks all.
Thank you. I think Mr. Joseph is here.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, he has been here.
We said we were to meet by 2, but I only people started before 2.
We said 8. 8 is 1. 8 is 1 p.m. Nigerian time.
No, it's 2 p.m.
Oh, no.
8 is 2 p.m. Nigerian time.
Nigeria is 7 hours behind Malaysia.
Yes, I am currently in Nigeria, but 8 is 2 p.m. 7 is 1.
It's okay.
And that is what I've been attending lectures.
It's okay, Mr. Joseph, Mr. Harry,
Thank you.
down.